Deja vu. We've seen this before, haven't we? The Oilers win it 3-2 in overtime, getting a late equalizer, and they get the job done. 2 points in the bank as it's a 3-2 victory over the San Jose Sharks. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream Postgame show. Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas with you. I'm live inside the EST Satellite Studios. Hernandez is at EST Global HQ. As always, you can text us 780-218-9999. Let us know your thoughts on the game. A lot to talk about, but highly entertaining for sure. And I'm sure there's some concern, but I don't know. I'll give my take in a second. And then if you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, get into the nasty chat, of course. So the Oilers have their 20th victory of the season, improving to 20-11-2. One more game before the Christmas break. The Sharks fall to 11-19-6. Of course, GCL Diesel, proud partners of our pre- and post-game shows and providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Nancito, I'm going to say this. The Oilers, I thought played good. I mean, they played keep away for like 45 minutes tonight. Bad goal on the second one that Pickard allowed. First one, And then Askarov, I don't like using the term goalied, but that's as close, like that's goalied. And he was the only reason why the Sharks picked up a point today. I honestly thought that the Oilers played all right. Like a sleepy first period, I'm not going to deny that. And that's 2 straight games. Actually, there's been a couple of games here in the last stretch where the first period hasn't been adequate, but Askarov was great, and I think the Oilers, they really woke up for the second and third period, and if it wasn't for Askarov, we're talking about like a 6-2 win here.
Yeah, this is a blowout. Couldn't agree with you more. Askarov was excellent, but also the Oilers missed like 3 wide open nets.
I know. Good point.
Right before the tying goal, Draisaitl had it. He looked to the sky twice in that third period because he knew he fudged those up. But give credit to Askarov. He was excellent on the night. He's the second star of the game. Should have been the first, but it's hard to give it when they lose. I understand that. But all in all, the Oilers, like you said, Tom, the first goal, Kulak goes where Bouchard already has his man.
Both defensemen, bad
on that one. Jeff Skinner a little late on the backtrack, but I put that more on Kulak because he sees there's no danger there where Bouchard is with the guy in the corner. And the second goal, like you said, that's one you want back from Calvin Pickard, who was. Hey, he kept it in. They didn't have a lot of. Celebrini had a couple good looks there in the third, but Pickard held his own and kept him in the game. And the Oilers were all over them in the third. Man, that was pure dominance, Tom. It would have been really unfortunate if they would have lost that game because they were doing everything but score. Good on Ekholm. The 2 old guys connect for the tying goal, and Perry to Ekholm. You gotta love that. And then in overtime, it was boom, boom, boom. I started laughing, Tom, because it was
why.
Those guys are just so ridiculous when it comes to 3-on-3. I know they've had their struggles at times in overtime, but when they're on, and it took them, barely any time in that overtime period. But kudos to them. They find another way to win a game. But this one compared to Boston where they had a slow start, Tom, I think the Oilers were pretty good outside of the bad goal by Pickard and a defensive lapse by Kulak there. They were the better team. It wasn't even close. So Oiler fans should be happy on this Saturday that they got 2 points. And I wouldn't say steal.
No, they didn't steal.
They deserve to win this game.
Yeah, listen, I kept thinking to myself, like, if Askarov keeps playing the way he is, I'm like, what am I even going to say to the listeners and viewers of this team? It's like, you did everything. You let in a stinker, but there's so much time left to get an equalizer, and they just couldn't. And I mean, you mentioned it. Draisaitl hits a post. Draisaitl misses a wide open net. Hyman gets a great opportunity. He kind of takes a weak shot. It goes wide. There were so many chances, and then Askarov just really, really solid all night long. So, I'm curious to know what Oiler fans think of this one tonight. Text us 780-218-9999. $99.99. Get into the nasty chat on YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe. Matt Cassian will be joining us shortly to break it all down. And Reed Wilkins is working the locker room for us. He will hop on later as well. I'm going to get into some text because I think there will be some fans that are going to be like, why aren't they, starting better? Why can't they take lesser teams more seriously? Yeah. Why are they still having these defensive lapses? And I think these are valid concerns. I honestly do. But at the same time, like, they cleaned them up in the game. They cleaned up those issues, let's call them, and they should have been up by like 4 goals.
And James says on the nasty chat, you're not dominating if you're not leading or scoring. Well, no, they were over San Jose, man. Like, come on. Like, yeah, if the Oilers drop this one, this is your classic goal lead game. It is.
That's one, I don't like using that term, but you're right. It would be goal lead.
Yeah, because the San Jose wasn't better than the Oilers on this night. Maybe
they barely touched the puck.
Maybe the first 10 minutes when the Oilers were kind of sleepy. Not as sleepy as the Boston game, but yeah, they started bad. They didn't get their first shot till 5-6 minutes in, but the Oilers were the better team. It wasn't even close. Come on, people. What are we watching?
Well, that's why I'm curious to hear the reaction from fans of the team. So, like, I understand where he's coming from on that one. That was James that texted that one in, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that sentiment, but at the same time, like the Sharks, like, they might have had 5 minutes of offensive zone time tonight. There were so many shifts where the Oilers were working it around, cycle, taking a look. Now, San Jose did a decent job of keeping Edmonton to the outside, but then when the Oilers would attack the middle, they generally got in there and would get a decent opportunity. They'd either flub it up. San Jose sometimes would get a stick in a lane, which was good, or Askarov would make a great save. So, we'll get to more of these texts and lay it on us. Like, we want to hear from you and your honest opinions on Edmonton's game overall today. It is a 3-2 Oilers victory in overtime. Draisaitl picking up the winner, totally redeeming himself for those goals that he could have had and blew them wide on some empty nets. But he gets it when it counts most, and that's for the second point, and put those 2 in the bank for the Orange and Blue. Let's get to the scoring summary. We start in the first period as per usual. Luke Cunnin with his 9th of the year from Wenberg and Liljegren, and it was a total defensive collapse. Bouchard goes to take Wenberg. For some reason, we also saw Brett Kulak follow Bouchard into the corner. Cunnin is left wide open. He buries it past Calvin Pickard at 3:23, 1-zip Sharks. The Oilers would get the equalizer at 7:07. Zach Hyman staying red hot from McDavid and Bouchard. Nice goal there by Hyman. And then in a minute 14 later, the ugly one that Calvin Pickard gives up, Jan Ruda, his first from Wallman and Celebrini. I don't know. Like, did I miss something on that one, Hernan? Because it just looked like a bad goal.
Yeah, I know Louis alluded to kind of not maybe Louis. I don't know. Maybe I saw it on Twitter, but Darnell Nurse kind of screened him, but still, that went straight in, right? There was no deflection. Jan Ruda doesn't score a lot, so
that was his first.
He just put it on net, and those goals happen. I'm glad he was able to bounce back and make some solid saves, but if that was Stuart Skinner letting that in, Tommy, we'd spent a whole half hour on that goal. But since it's Pickard, it's all good, I guess. But yeah, I didn't like that goal. Let's just call it how it is. It was a bad goal, so we'll just leave it at that because they won.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. It was an easy zone entry. Ruda mishandled the pass initially, and off the post. I don't think that was a good goal.
No,
I really don't. So Jan Ruda makes it 2-1 at 8:21 of the first period. No scoring in the second, and then no scoring till very late in the third. 17.3 seconds left on the clock. McDavid slips it over to Corey Perry at the side of the net. Perry finds Matthias Ekholm sneaking in, and Askarov overplayed Perry, and Ekholm buries his 5th of the year, second in as many games. tied up at 2, and then just 20 seconds in, or 18 seconds to be exact, in overtime. Draisaitl from McDavid and Bouchard slips it past Askarov, give the Oilers a 3-2 victory. Shots on goal, 42-22 in favor of Edmonton. The face-off percentage, 58.3% for the Oilers to 41.7% for the Sharks. Power play 0 for 2. PK 1 for 1. That's good. Hits 18-4 in favor of San Jose. Block shots 15-9 in favor of San Jose. Giveaways officially 22 for the Oilers, 17 for the Sharks. Takeaways 5 apiece, 3 for Edmonton on the scoreboard, 2 for San Jose in overtime. But at the end of the night, it's 2 points for the Edmonton Oilers. All right, keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. Nasty chat, do your thing. Matt Cassian is ready to go, our game analyst, as we bring him in. I'll read a couple of texts. Mac Lemec says it could have been 9-2 for the Oilers. Sharks goalie worked his ass off. What was up with all those empty net chances the Oilers missed? Unreal. I'll just shake my head, take my 2 points, and walk away. Very nice with the Askarov pun there, Mac Lemec. Well done. Rip City Step, as per usual. Never doubted him. Thank you, Rip City Step. Tube Socks, who made a pit stop at Acme Meat, says game summary in 3 haikus. Shots crash, but won't break through. Goalies walls. A steadfast force. Oilers stars denied. Through pain, Hyman scores blood and grit in every stride. Streak grows unbroken. Fast, fierce hearts collide. Overtime's final breath comes. Oilers triumph soars. Signed, Tube Socks. That's beautiful.
Wow.
And then we'll go to Shaggy in St. Albert and get Cass's thoughts right away here. Shaggy in St. Albert goes, Oilers once again show up late for the game. Was looking like they were going to choke this one away with those multiple open net misses. Askarov did play great. Pickard was okay. Oilers again take an inferior opponent lightly and have to win it in OT. A win is a win, but like I said last time, once again, Oilers cram for final exam on last night to get the C. It worked. Oilers did play better most of the game except for the beginning. Just expected more from them. I am not angry, but a little bit disappointed. There is Shaggy in St. Albert. Let's get Cass on. What do you say, Cass? The Oilers win at 3-2 in OT. 42-22, they outshot the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, well, you should have scored a lot more than you did if you actually bury some of those. Askarov played a great game.
Yep.
Some of those just went by him and you just missed. Or there was an empty net and you just missed. So it should have been a much cleaner win than it was, but you didn't find a way to put the puck in the net. And on top of that, you came out of the gate slow. And we talked about that before the game. If you come out of the gate slow, you give a team hope, you give them an opportunity. Even a team like the San Jose Sharks may have a chance to beat you, and they almost did. You know, you had a bad 5 minutes, a slow start to the game. San Jose got their legs underneath them a little bit, and yes, you took the game over. You dominated in the second. You dominated in the third. But you couldn't put the puck in the net, and San Jose was almost held on for dear life. Almost. Now, they almost did, which is great. At the end of the day, for the Oilers, you get the job done. Who cares if the San Jose Sharks get a point in overtime? Yeah, I mean, plenty of opportunity, lack of finish. Still a big win, still an emotional win. Good to see, all the kids involved today. Is always nice to see that. And
Yeah.
For all the families who are there, you end up with a win. So that's a big one.
A couple of things. This is the breakdown with our game analyst, Matt Cassian, brought to you by South Fort Chev. Upgrade your sleigh with South Fort Chevrolet in the month of December. Reserve your 2025 Equinox Trax and Traverse now. They will not last long. They've also got 2025 Silverado Customs with payments starting as low as $199 biweekly. See dealer for details at www.southfortchev.com. The kids were great. They really were. Anthem singer all the way to the PA announcer, who was excellent, just screaming those Oiler goals in the last minute of play. Absolutely tremendous. Good to see the kids on the ice in the intermissions as well. It was the NextGen game. I'd love to see it. Nanso, did you want to get to something with Cass there?
Just the little dude on calling the goals was awesome.
Yeah.
He couldn't get
love
the
it.
time.
Great.
Yeah,
I love
he
it.
was-
Well, you know what that is, guys, is like it's pure joy
Yes.
to be doing that. Like that's one of the things because you can remember if you're a Canadian kid and you grew up watching the Oilers or wherever you lived and you watched hockey and you loved it. Like it's just you do it with your friends when you're playing mini sticks. Right, you do it in your head when you're playing outside at the outdoor rink or in the driveway, wherever you are. And so to get a chance to actually do it, it's just you can feel the joy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a joyful moment, which I just love it. That's one of the beautiful things about sports is it doesn't matter if you're a kid or if you're in your 8th or 9th decade, you can still get excited about stuff, but it's just like pure joy. So it was great. It makes me smile. I love it.
There was a mini Gene. There was a mini Oilers TV correspondent. There was a mini DJ in house. Oh man, it was hilarious and it was great to see. It's fun when you see the kids suited up and they're up in press row and you're just like, well, isn't that adorable?
Yep.
Isn't that adorable? So great stuff. Next gen game and the Oilers pull it off for the victory. All right, Cass, you were talking about killer instinct on Game Changers on the pregame show. I think, and I kept thinking about this during the game too. I was like, we have to talk about this because sleepy first period, you talk about the 5-minute lapse there. Is that not taking your opponent seriously? Like, what do you think that is? Because listen, Boston's a better team than San Jose. Let's not kid ourselves. But the Oilers did have a sleepy first period against the Bruins as well. How do you assess it today?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first period wasn't good enough, and that's all it takes for it to give a team a chance that's not as good as you. Now, it's easier in some ways to come back against a team like San Jose because they're not as good at locking it down as the Boston Bruins are. And you saw Edmonton get a plethora of chances that they just didn't finish, so they would have been back in the game or controlling the game from a goal standpoint earlier, but they didn't have that finish. And it's we talked about it before this season. There have been periods of time or periods in individual games where they have just had their foot off the gas. And I don't think it's necessarily taking the San Jose Sharks too lightly. They've just been sleepy at the start of games. And that kind of transcends this season. Like we've talked about that for a long time, like where at times this team just kind of feels their way into a game and works their way into a game and doesn't necessarily just go out and establish themselves. And they didn't have that killer instinct from the drop of the puck. It took them a little while to get it. Now, the second that they equalized that game and scored late, I'm like, they're going to win this. Yeah. Like there's no way they don't win this in overtime. There's no way because you knew that just you're going to see a sag from San Jose. They've given up leads in the third the last little while, and Edmonton probably, even though San Jose's been okay in overtime, Edmonton's probably going to win this.
Yeah.
But yeah, no killer instinct off the start of the game, and no killer instinct for the opportunities that they had to put the puck in the net.
Right.
Like it took until the last minute of the hockey game to find a way to score that equalizer. And on top of that, I would even say in that first period, you do get it, you tie it up 1-1, and you basically immediately let San Jose regain the lead, and you give another one up. So they're just the killer instinct wasn't there against a team that you're not as good at or that isn't as good as you today, but you still get the win. So I'm just still viewing it as a positive thing, and that yes, you had a slow start. Yes, you didn't have the killer instinct, but you still found a way, even in a game where you were sleepy. Now that's 2 games in a row you've been sleepy. We got to see tomorrow against the Ottawa Senators, who I actually saw in Seattle. I went and watched Seattle and Ottawa play last week. The Sens come at you, and they have some really good goaltending right now too. Ullmark is playing fantastic. You don't want to be sleepy again the rest of the weekend. On top of that, it's the last game before the Christmas break, so you don't want to turn this into a habit. But they were lacking a little bit in that killer instinct tonight. But Tom, they still get the win, which is a huge positive.
Good point, Cass. I'm going to say this really quick, Hernan, because I know you want to jump in there. It's a good reminder that the Sens play tonight in Vancouver.
In the evening,
and it's an 8:00 start our time. The Sens play that game. They lose an hour coming back here, and then they got to play 6:00 tomorrow. That when I looked at the schedule yesterday as I was getting set for today's game, I was like, that is a crappy situation for Ottawa. They're just going to have to deal with it. That's a poop sandwich, as they like to say. Hernan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I was thinking of that during the game. That's unlucky for the Ottawa Senators. But Cass is right. If they're sleepy tomorrow, this team is a five game win streak. Olmark's 8-1-1 in his last 10. It's going to be a little bit different. I guess, guys, just to shift gears a bit. I mean, Macklin Celebrini, first kind of big look we get at him for a full 60 minutes outside of just highlights. I really like what I saw from the 18-year-old. He's you can hear him calling for the puck there a few times. Shout out to the sound guys for getting those clips as well. But he had some good looks. Pickard made some good saves. What did you guys think? I guess what's the first impression on Macklin Celebrini?
Confident with the puck, obviously. And I didn't notice him till the third period. I saw a couple. I was watching his shifts, but I didn't really notice him until the third, where he made a couple of good plays and had a couple of good opportunities that were stymied by Pickard. But Cass, I'm curious to see hear what you have to say about what you saw from Celebrini today.
Yeah, confident with the puck as an 18-year-old. I think seems pretty sure of himself, and not in a way that's obnoxious or that he shouldn't. He looks comfortable. Looks comfortable as an 18-year-old, which is hard to do. I'm certain feels like he belongs. He's going to be a player. Going to be a really good player. So yes, I think stymied a little bit. It's different, and I think it'd be different for him if he was on a really good team already. With good team or a lot of really highly offensive skilled teammates around him. Seems to positionally put himself, and you did see that more in the third when he got some of those opportunities. Positionally puts himself on a good spot to find some open ice. So yeah, he's just going to continue to grow. We'll see more from him. He's a guy that is going to be fun to watch, I think, as time goes on, as he continues to grow and as this San Jose team gets better.
All right, 780-218-9999. Text us your thoughts on the Oilers' 3-2 overtime victory over the San Jose Sharks. It took everything for the Oilers to tie this game. Ekholm with the equalizer, 17.3 seconds left on the clock. Nice play by Corey Perry. And then it was Leon Draisaitl just 18 seconds in on a feed from Connor McDavid. I want to get to this one. I'm kind of laughing. It's from Randy. So be ready, boys. Randy says, what's the over-under for minutes before Tommy says his classic quote, "It wasn't pretty, but a win's a win," unquote, after an Oilers win. But just incredible resiliency to not quit in an effort to beat the San Jose Sharks, says Randy, or whatever the Oilers' positive narrative spin will be. Plan the parade and buy Oilers futures. What did Struddy used to say about winning games you shouldn't and the end of a winning streak? I don't care what you say. The last two games easily should have been or could have been 0 points, not 4. They've got very lucky lately, but that's not a fun commentary. Very fortunate that McDavid plays for the Oilers. Legit. I'm positive he will go down as the best player ever in the NHL's history. Randy, I avoided that it wasn't pretty, but a win's a win tonight. Thank you for calling me out on that. And good reference to Struddy. And I appreciate the text. Anybody want to kind of chime in on what Randy had to say there?
Go ahead, Cass.
Well, I was going to say you go ahead, Erdan. I like hearing from you.
Yeah, I mean,
Randy was kind of positive at the end. I'm not going to lie.
I wouldn't go as far as they were. You won the game. What if they didn't tie it late? Well, they did. So,
they did, yeah.
And the only thing that's concerning these last 2 games is the slow starts, guys. I mean, they got better as the game wore on against Boston. Today, even when they scored that second goal, Edmonton was still the better team, guys. They were all over them for most of the game.
Yep.
I know people are talking about the hits. I think the Oilers got 4. But they had the puck.
But you had the puck the whole time.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not too concerned about that. So I mean, and listen, guys, it's Saturday afternoon. It's a bottom feeder team coming in. Maybe it took the guys a bit to get into this one. You can understand that. And all the good teams in this league, guys, are gonna have games like this. San Jose does beat good teams as well, right? They don't just beat up on guys that are close to them in the standings. You look at them, their last 3 games prior to this one, guys, they were leading in all those, and they blew them all in the third period. It's a young team, a rebuilding team. This is what happens when those teams are in that part of their, evolution, I guess. So, listen, the slow starts, but the Oilers before that, guys, they were playing some really, really good hockey. They still are. It's just the last 2 games, it's been slow starts, and you want to get by that, and hopefully tomorrow they don't have one.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. You nailed it. The what ifs are pointless. Like, what if they didn't score? Well, then we'd be having a different conversation, right? Like about probably bearing your opportunities and having that killer instinct. We talked about that a little bit already, but we would be just absolutely, I don't want to say tearing the team apart, but we'd be talking about how, like, yeah, you had every opportunity and you didn't take it. But they ended up scoring, and they end up scoring again in overtime, and they win the hockey game. So there's no what ifs. They got the 2 points. So, if or when, I should say, positive, when the Oilers make it to the playoffs, we're not going to look back and be like, oh, man, they got 2 points against San Jose and they just barely got it. Like, you're going to be like, oh, no, we're not even going to talk about this game or think about this game. Now, if you didn't make the playoffs and you let it slip away, or you were pushing for first in the division and you let it slip away, then yeah, you're going to look back and be like, man, you had that game against San Jose. You had those games against, teams that were well below you in the standings, and you dropped them, and you let it slip, and that didn't put yourself in a good enough position in the playoffs or the position you'd like to be in. Then you have that conversation, but it's a total what if. So it doesn't matter if you want to say they had a slow start, 2 games in a row, concerning, for sure to say, yeah, hey, they got to be better at the start of the game. They absolutely do. 2 games in a row now. You've been sleepy. You didn't get burned tonight because of it, which is a good thing. You've found a way to win, which is also just overall a really good thing. But yeah, no, let's not worry about but what ifs when you won the hockey game.
Okay, I want to get to this one via the nasty chats from Floating Tea Leaves. I think this is the first time I've read one from Floating Tea Leaves, so thank you for chiming in. I still think the Oilers need to watch Vegas play and copy their puck and positioning to move out of the D zone. We know the Oilers can be sloppy on their zone exits, and they get caught on those sometimes, and they have turnovers at the blue line that have led to goals against. But what about that point about Vegas and how efficient they do things in their own zone, Cass?
Well, let's look at Vegas's D versus Edmonton's D if we're thinking about it.
Yeah,
like, if Edmonton or Vegas has some of the deepest defensive pairings in the league. Like, they have a really good set of defense. We've seen that. We saw that the other day when Edmonton beat the Vegas Golden Knights, and that they can do a really good job of stymieing other teams and of moving the puck out of the zone. So I don't think you can look at the Vegas Golden Knights and look at the Edmonton Oilers and say, they need to play this way in the defensive zone, and they need to be looking for these zone exits, because the defensive pairings are just completely different. Different. So, I get Vegas, yes, probably better at that. One of the things that Vegas is very good at, because of the strength of the defensive core, Edmonton is a team where they're able to generate offense coming out of the defensive zone when they have motion. That's when they generate their offense, when they have motion. So when it can be clean, when you have Draisaitl or McDavid typically able to swing with speed and either pick up the puck or get a bump from the winger and head right into attack mode with motion, that's when Edmonton's dangerous. Now, as Floating Tea Leaves pointed out, where they do struggle at times is when it's up to the winger and there's no speed, there's no motion.
Yep.
They try to make a play at the blue and they turn the puck over. And yes, that's one of the things that Edmonton needs to continue to work on and needs to continue to get out of their game, is their inability to exit the zone cleanly at times. But to sit and to say that it needs to look exactly like Vegas, it's not going to. It can't, because Vegas's defensemen are they're just overall they're better when we compare the two. Now Edmonton's forwards better overall as a team. I would argue that the Edmonton Oilers, when they're playing at their best, are better than the Golden Knights playing at their best. But the defensive pairings in Vegas, they're just better. So I don't know. You can't do it like they do it.
Nanso, anything there?
Yeah, mostly what Cass said. I mean, you can't compare the two. And I wouldn't go that far as look at what they do. I mean, the Oilers are when they're on, they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league, guys. So yeah, I don't think they really have to look at other teams and kind of copy styles and all that. It's always going to change depending on who you have on your back end and how they move the puck. And like Cass said, you compare the two D cores. Vegas is way above Edmonton in that. And it's not that Edmonton's is horrible or anything like that, but you have absolute studs on Vegas back end. So yeah, I don't think the Oilers have to really look at other teams and say, hey, we need to be like that. I think the Oilers, when they're on, they're one of the best teams.
Hey, really quickly, this is something I was noticing with the Oilers on the blue line today. I wanted to say tonight there. I apologize. They had to lean heavy on Kulak, Nurse, Ekholm, and Bouchard. And Emerson played 12:35. Stetcher played 10:49. And as good as San Jose hung in there, had the lead, Askarov held the fort, they had to go heavy on those four blue liners and avoid playing Stetcher and Emerson. Is that a red flag at all?
Well, we just talked about Vegas and their depth at D and their strength of their pairings. And if there's a weak spot with the Edmonton Oilers, it's their depth on defense. So is it a concern long-term when we look forward to the playoffs? Yeah, it is.
100%.
100% it is. Of course it is. They, at some point, will need to find a way to address that, in my opinion. Now, exactly who, I don't know. Exactly when, I don't know. What's the cost going to be? That's the big kicker. How much is it going to cost you from your forward group? And you don't have, aside from Matt Savoy, it's not like the prospect pool is just massive and overflowing for the Edmonton Oilers. So it's going to be tough to sort that one out. But yeah, that's concerning, guys. What do you think?
I was like, wow. Like, I barely noticed Stetcher out there. And obviously, looking at the stat line from tonight, he didn't play much. And I mean, desperation, I suppose, to get those points tonight. But I don't know.
When you compare it to last year, guys, because last year was mostly the same guys. They had no injuries on the back end, right? So, right. I mean, you might get a little concerned if they can't add a player here until the deadline, just because you're going to maybe burn these guys out a bit. Ekholm has a lot of miles on him. Nurse plays he plays a ton of minutes. So does Bouchard. Bouchard, again, leading all defensemen. So I think there might be a tiny bit of concern that these guys are playing way too much. But until they add that upgrade, guys, I think we're going to see more of the same. I'm a little surprised Emerson was so low today, guys, because I think Emerson's really upped this game here a bit. I'm not saying he should be in the 20-minute range, but you can probably give him a few more minutes. So I'm a little surprised of his time on ice today.
780-218-9999. My buddy Jeff Smith, who's playing in Germany right now, was trying to call in, and I had to send him straight to voicemail, and all I got, boys, was wow. I'm like, sorry. I'm on the air. I think he's playing like his 12th season in Germany. Great guy. Anyway, let's get to some more text. 780-218-9999. Taxman getting in on the conversation, saying, Tommy and the boys, I didn't even care if the Oilers lost this one. Outplayed them so bad, it just seemed like it wasn't in the cards. Not just puck control on the outside, but they're actually throwing stuff on net and going to the dirty areas, which was nice to see. After Dry's last miss, I thought it was over. Props to the boys for staying with it. Shout out to Askarov for a ridiculous performance, and thanks to Celebrini for the rookie turnover in overtime. That's from Taxman. J Style just says 2 points is 2 points. Thank you, J Style. And then this text says Askarov went Ron Tugnut on the Oilers today. That's a reference from the early 90s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then RBM texting says, what's up, guys? Just got back from Mexico for a week yesterday. Kind of tuned out of the Oilers. Completely forgot they played today. Turned it on just after they tied the game. 1 in OT. Felt like one of those what did I miss jokes, because they've won a bunch of their games recently. And then Dudley says that whole game was so hard to watch. Like, the Oilers looked like they were the better team, but they couldn't finish anything. And I honestly thought that it was going to end with them beating themselves. All right, Coach Mike, one more here. What the hell was that? Oilers miss how many open nets? Just like the Boston game, 2 points is 2 points. One more W tomorrow before the holidays. All right, Cass, let's take a look ahead to that game tomorrow against the Ottawa Senators. Sens, a reminder, are playing tonight in Vancouver against the Canucks. Sens with a 5-game winning streak. Ullmark has been excellent between the pipes for them. Oilers get to rest a little bit, and then they await Ottawa returning this way, coming through town. This is going to be a favorable matchup from that point of view for the Oilers, is it not?
No, absolutely. And they played in Calgary on Thursday, like kind of a weird, one of those weird moments in the NHL schedule where you're like, why did they do that? Like they play, Calgary on Thursday and then in Vancouver on Saturday and Edmonton on Sunday.
Yeah.
Not that it's like a crazy flight or anything, and it is a time zone difference, but it's just one of those oddities in the schedule where you're kind of like, that's kind of odd. But it is a favorable matchup from a back-to-back and travel standpoint. Edmonton going to be getting to bed early today. But hey, listen, I know they still have to play tonight, but the Ottawa Senators have really started to play well. They've really started to play well, and a lot of that has been anchored by their goaltending. Linus Ullmark has been playing just, I don't want to say out of his boots because I think he's a really good goalie, but he's playing extremely well. He's been probably their best player by far and away. Was one of the NHL stars of the, I can't remember if it was of the week or the month, but he's well deserved of any kind of award by the NHL, where he's playing really well right now. And watching the game in Seattle, he played really well in that game too, and that ended up being a 3-0 shutout. Now he holds it down again in a tight game against Calgary. And this team is rolling, so they're feeling it. They're not as skilled as the Oilers, but I can tell you right now, this team is playing aggressive. Green has them at playing at a high tempo. That's Travis Green, their coach, plays quite aggressive. And there's some young, good players on this team. Shabbat, we don't talk about him too much. He wasn't in the conversation really for for the Four Nations at all, but he's an absolute stud back there, a fantastic defenseman. They have some good pieces, and it's going to be a challenge. It's not a team I think you can have a really sleepy 5 or 10 or 15 minutes to start a game. They're a good team and rightfully in a wild card spot right now, and they're making some moves. So it's going to be a challenge for Edmonton. Again, slightly favorable from a matchup standpoint with the schedule and the travel, but you still got to be awake. And being that last game before the Christmas break, you can't have your mind on whatever it is, sugar plums. I don't know if you figured out what those are, Tommy, yet. I haven't, but whatever
like
those
crap.
are, you can't be thinking of that.
Yeah. I'm glad you led me to look into what sugar plums actually are. They're candies, bonbons, if you will, in French, and they don't seem that enticing. So, no sugar plums for this guy over here. By the way, as you were alluding to, Cass, Ullmark was the 3rd star of the week, Nathan McKinnon 2nd star of the week, and Leon Draisaitl was the 1st star of the week. That was the last round of it. So you were bang on with that one.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't horribly mistaken, which does happen sometimes. It does happen.
Not
often, but it happens.
Yeah. All right. Cass, great work today. Go enjoy some sugar plums or whatever delicacy you can tonight, and have a great one, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, okay?
Absolutely, buddy. Look forward to it. I hope your house is clean. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Oh, yeah, you're coming over tomorrow. There's Matt Cassian, our game analyst. That was the breakdown brought to you by South Fort Chevrolet. And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Oh, yeah, he's coming to do the pre- and post-game show tomorrow. It is clean. I try to maintain a clean home as much as possible. And actually, Belzy's supposed to be coming over. It's a busy place. I think he's like, I don't know. He was at the game in the alumni room. I saw Al Hamilton today with his son, Andrew. Andrew's living in Australia, was playing in the Australian League last year, Nanso. Cool. And he brought his girlfriend over from Australia. Straight up Aussie. Really nice girl. I think Christina's her name. I met her last game in the press box. And she apparently is loving this weather.
Really?
And I was like, Hammy, like, what is she crazy? Like, this is brutal compared to Australia. And he's like, man, she hates it when it's super hot.
Oh, I love hot weather, Tommy.
Me too.
Me
too, pal.
I can't wait till it returns. Tommy, a quick question. We're getting a lot on the Nasty Chat about Jeff Skinner. Once again, the lowest time on ice, only 7:53. Yeah, marked at 8:12, which kind of surprised me, but that whole line was shut down in the third period, it seems. They're going to get Derek Ryan back in this eventually, Tom. I have a feeling Skinner's the first one that's going to be out of here. Out of the lineup, not out of Edmonton.
Yeah. Like, again, like, Jeff Skinner was brought in to score goals. Jeff Skinner hasn't found a home anywhere on this roster with this forward unit. I think it's pretty clear. If we didn't think so before, it's much clearer now that the coaching staff either doesn't know how to use him or doesn't, like what they're getting out of him or a combination of that. And they just kind of keep him in and they throw him out there every now and then. He's not getting power play 2 time.
No.
When power play 2 rolled out a couple of times today, I think they got like the crumbs, obviously. I think they got like 30 seconds on one of the power plays. He was not part of that. It would not surprise me to see him be a healthy scratch. That's not good. And I think, and I'll stand by it, and I said this was a conversation Daniel Nugent-Bowman and I were having in the third period because I think Skinner was at like 4 or 5 minutes at that point of the game. And we're like, well, what do you do? And we're talking about like he's kind of an enigma to read off of. DNB pointed out how McDavid and Draisaitl appreciate wingers that go hustle and get pucks. That's not Skinner's game. I think Tyler Ennis was talking about that. And so he's kind of in this weird no man's land on this roster. And that's going to be tough. And then I said to DNB, I was like, so, a lot of fans and our listeners and viewers have been talking about, do you trade him? Do you get him to waive his no movement clause? DNB thinks that Skinner would want to be around for the playoffs and score a couple of big goals in the postseason and try to get his next contract that way. And I kind of agree. I don't know why Jeff Skinner, he was brought in to score goals. Joaquin said it too. Unless the Oilers, make life so miserable for Jeff Skinner that he is basically forced to waive his no movement, I think he'd be willing to stick around. Now, this is not something I've talked to him about, but I think he wants a taste of the postseason. I think he wants to show people he can provide some offensive spark in the playoffs. He's never had an opportunity to do it. It's kind of a weird situation. I can't recall another situation like this, Hernan, especially with the Oilers.
It's bizarre. So that's why I'm starting to think that the coaching staff is not they don't make anything personal, but I don't think they're just a fan of what he brings to the team. I think, listen, Pod Colson, Draisaitl likes playing with him. He works his butt off. He's good at digging pucks, but let's just compare it, Tom. This is not me saying, Paul Colson shouldn't be where he is. It is what it is right now. The team's winning, so why make changes? But Paul Colson has gone 9 games without a goal. Okay?
Yeah.
9 games.
Yeah.
In those 9 games, he has 3 assists. Right? So is he getting the bump and is he getting the ice time and is he getting the top 6 love just because of the work ethic? Is it that?
Yep.
Because he's not great defensively either. Let's be honest here.
He's not great offensively. He had a couple of great opportunities, couldn't score.
Jeff Skinner has 6 goals, and it's been very limited ice time lately. And then I look at Kapanen, too. He's kind of tailed off as well. So it's like, I just feel like there's something off with Skinner's game that the coaching staff doesn't like, and it might be his defensively, it might be his effort. You saw on the goal today, he was late, and he was pretty upset with himself because he seemed to go around the net kind of shaking his head. But that to me is Kulak. Like, Kulak has no business going into the corner. It was a one-on-one. There's no danger
horribly
there.
Played by the defense.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued what's going on here with Jeff Skinner. I agree with Gager. He said it this week on the show. He goes, You don't move on from a guy like that, especially it's a 1-year deal. It's not a lot of money. You can move on at the end of the year. But come playoff time, this guy might become extremely valuable, Tom, because he scores goals. And what's the most important thing in the playoffs? You need to score goals to win. So I'm not ready to ship him out, but I don't like that he's on the 4th line. He's not going to produce there. He's not.
No.
And you have 2 guys in the top 6 that, yes, they work their butts off. The coaches love them, but they don't produce either.
Kapanen has lately, but you're right. The last couple of games, a little bit quieter. And then Pod Colson, I commend him for the hard work he puts in, getting into the good graces of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid to an extent. But a guy that finishes with 20 to 30 points playing with Leon Draisaitl on a regular shift, that's not good.
Tommy, if any other player, and we saw it with Yamamoto when he was here, everybody wanted him out because he couldn't produce with Draisaitl, and why do the coaches? It was the same thing. It's because he digs pucks. The players like playing with him. But this guy hasn't scored in 9 games now. He has 3 goals on the season, Tom.
Right.
And again, this is not a pot calls in. The Oilers wanted to.
We're not here to bash him.
Yeah,
no.
I'm just comparing the two players and
right.
What's the difference right now. And I think the coaching staff, Skinner's fallen out of favor for some reason. We don't know why.
Well, yeah, fair enough. It's a conundrum and a storyline that we will continue to discuss until he catches on fire and finds his way in the top 6 or 9, possibly.
And I still
think that's going to happen? Not really.
And Skinner's, with the limited ice time he gets and playing on the fourth line, I still think he's around it, Tom.
He has been at times.
Like he can get an opportunity just like that, and that's I find the difference. So I hope he gets another look in the top 6. I think it'd be really unfortunate if they don't give him one and he's kind of the odd man out, in and out of the lineup, or if they move on from him and maybe he's just not working out here. I don't know. But it's interesting what's happening with Jeff Skinner, man. I don't think anyone anticipated Jeff Skinner signing going this way.
No, not at all. And I mean, Arvidsson to another lesser extent. Obviously, Arvidsson missing 15 games, but hasn't really been able to catch on and get some traction, if you will, so far in their tenure as Edmonton Oilers. All right, Reed Wilkins will be joining us a little bit later on. Reed sent a text saying, hey, March 21st, 1991, Ron Tugnut made 70 saves. So I was right. Tugnut in the early 90s had a just spectacular night. Reed also adds brutal traffic, and he is making his way back to his place. He'll join us when he can. I also want to point out that the Toronto Maple Leafs, with Joseph Wall in net, have been scored on twice. They trail the Islanders 2-0. They got scored on their first shot against, and I think that's their 5th or 4th against. So just an out-of-town update.
No Matthews either.
No Matthews. Yeah, that was the 4th shot. So the first shot goes in on Wall, and the 4th shot, Craig Berube has called his timeout 4:48 into the game. He's yelling at them. So all is well in Leafland. Nice. All is well in Leafland. All right, Hernan, I see that we have some player audio and video. What do you want to get to first?
How about we hear from the winning goaltender? He's a fan favorite, Calvin Pickard. Here he is following tonight's game.
Goal of this game.
I didn't think we were ever going to score again, to be honest. But the one that tied it was great, and then the overtime one was even better. So I'd say the overtime one.
When you see the guy at the other end, I mean, he's that hot, and obviously you guys missed some good chances as well. You want to stop everyone anyway, but is it a different vibe for the opposing goalie?
It's not easy for sure. He was outstanding. He played a great game. He was seeing it. Obviously we had a couple chances that we'd like to put away, but credit where credit's due. He was great. I just try to keep hitting the ball back. When I get a shot or a chance, I just try and make that save. Obviously goals were going to be tough to come by tonight, and it wasn't the start I wanted, but just kept it at 2. That was my job. Keep making saves, and hopefully we pot one at the end.
Is it more difficult to play a game where your team's in the offensive zone and you're not facing shots for long periods of time, and then every once in a while you have to come up with that 10-bill save?
Honestly, I mean we're a great team, so it happens often. We get a lot of ozone time, probably the most in the league, and I've learned to deal with that. There's a lot of spurts in games where you don't get a lot of shots, so I just have to deal with it and be ready for the next chance on me.
How do you think the team played?
I thought we were great. Honestly, it was ugly, going down to the wire there. It wouldn't have been a great loss, but we definitely deserved to win and played well.
I may have misunderstood or may have misheard you, but you sound like you weren't crazy about your start, but allowing 2.
Yeah. No, I obviously want to get off to a good start. I haven't played in a while, and there's 2 goals there in the first 10 minutes, so it's not an ideal start for me. You want to get out there and get off on the right foot, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and we didn't dwell. We played really well the rest of the game.
How do you like the way you responded though after those 2 goals? Obviously.
Yeah, no, it was good. Obviously we had the bulk of the chances, but they still had a few looks here and there, and we had some good efforts, some good blocks, and I made a couple saves, but credit to our team, we battled back.
All right, that was Calvin Pickard. Good stuff there from the NextGen reporter. Pickard handling those questions, a couple high, hard ones. I'm kidding. Really, really well. And he talked about the 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. And he ended up holding the fort pretty good the rest of the way, made a couple of decent saves. 20 saves total in the victory, his 8th of the year. Pickard improves to 8-3-0 on the season. All right, Hernan, before we get to Leon Draisaitl, who had the game-winning goal, I do need to pass on the turning point of the game, presented as always by Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, where they treat you like the pros. Their multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro, using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. That is Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy. The turning point tonight happened at the 1942 mark of the third period, where the Oilers finally got another goal past Askarov. It was Matthias Ekholm, his 5th of the year, 2nd in as many games from Corey Perry and Connor McDavid. I think at that point, I mean, the Oilers had all the momentum by that point. They just needed to get one by Askarov, and they did. And then, as we heard earlier, that we figured by the time they got that second one, you knew they were going to win it in overtime. I think, Nanso, you said that. So there is your Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy turning point of the game. Matthias Ekholm's 5th of the year from Perry and McDavid at 1942. All right, Nancito, what do you say we go back inside the Oilers locker room?
Let's do it. Here's Leon Draisaitl, the hero on the afternoon.
Those 2 open nets, missing the net, hitting the post.
Shit. I mean, yeah, it's not a great feeling. Every player has those every once in a while. Never a great feeling. It's always one of those where you come back to the bench and you're like, oh, if I just settled it down for a second, I had more time. But the game's so fast, sometimes the brain doesn't quite operate at that speed. So, yeah. It's unlucky. Excuse my language, by the way, guys.
Go ahead. How do you stay off frustration on the bench when you're like dominating the pace of play, you're getting so many shots and they just can't get one past that goalie?
Yeah, I think it's just about a sense of patience. Sometimes those games are tricky because you seemingly have the puck the whole night. You're creating looks, lots of old zone time, and then you give up a grade A the other way because you're not quite as sharp. So I thought Picks gave us a chance late with a couple of really big stops. So sometimes there's some frustration that can creep in, but I thought we did a good job today.
It's back-to-back games now. You won the same way. You score late in the third period and then limited in overtime. I mean, all wins are fun. These must be better.
Yeah, these are always exciting and fun if they go your way, of course. So I thought we've done a good job the last 2 nights of finding a way to close out a game.
How did your defense play this game?
I thought they were great. We didn't give up a lot. They created up on the blue line. They got a lot of motion going for us. So, we created a lot of looks through them, and I thought they were really good.
It seemed like Chris was just, I don't know how many different line combinations there were, but just looking for something. You have to maybe stay sharp about who's coming out and who's going.
Yeah, you got to be alert on the bench, of course. But we have so many good players. We're so deep that you can truly, throw at anybody with anybody, and you have a good chance at a good line being out there and getting the job done. So.
I know any win is good, right? But is a win like this where you're just kind of finding a way almost better than blowing a team out? Is there some merit to these types of games?
Yeah, it just creates a little bit of belief and a little bit of character in those moments when they come again down later on in the season. Sorry. You got to find a way to win any type of hockey game in this league, and the last 2 nights we certainly won 2 the same way, and you don't want to do that every night, but sometimes you need those.
You touched on Calvin. Can you maybe just give us a bigger picture thought on the quality that he's giving you from the backup position? You look at his numbers. Right up there with the best backups in the league. Yeah,
he gives us a chance every time he's in there. He makes the big stops at all times. Seemingly, knock on wood, he wins every game that he goes in as well. So he's been nothing but amazing for us the last 2 years.
There you go. There's Leon Draisaitl. He had the game-winning goal. Alluded to missing 2 open nets, and on NextGen Day, which is a lot of kids learning about the game, being a part of the game. You had the kid reporters in there. Leon providing them a lesson in how to curse in a comical way and then apologizing appropriately. Well done, Leon Draisaitl.
I wouldn't expect anything different. He's hilarious, man. That's just so like I don't know if the question came from one of the little
No, it was Preston from Daily Hive, but
okay, because it wasn't like it was kind of like so you missed 2 goals and he was just like he kind of looked like he didn't know because it wasn't really a question, it was more like a statement. So it was kind of funny.
At least he apologized.
He did.
Good on him. I mean, it looked like it just wasn't there. He's fighting it a little bit, and then
earmuffs.
He scores. Earmuffs, kids. Although I'm sure they've heard worse. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
But maybe they have. I don't know. But a funny moment there on NextGen Day as the kids take over Rogers Place. A couple of kid reporters in there, asking some great questions and some good responses and some expletives in there. That's what happens in the big boy locker room at times, I guess. All right, Hernan, do you want to? Reed is very close. He does want to hop on for a couple of minutes. We'll have Reed on, and we do need to get to the Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game. We will get to more texts, so keep those coming in. 780-218-9999. Nasty chat, keep doing your thing. We still have quite a few people hanging on and watching, and I'm sure there's a bunch more still listening, obviously, on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and EdmontonSportsTalk.com's audio player. Damon Bunting, Remax Elite Player of the Game, brought to you by our good friend Damon Bunting, who's a consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. You know Damon is community-driven. He understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Damon has been out, spreading the Christmas cheer around the city, and we had a post on our Instagram in the latest installment of what Damon's been up to, the gift of giving, and he is great at that. So check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Nancito, take it away.
A lot of good choices for me today. I'm not going to go with the guy that, one of 2 guys that wins a lot of these in Connor McDavid, even though he had 3 assists, but I like Matthias Ekholm's game tonight, this afternoon. 23-11 on ice, 7 shots, 1 block, and he had the all-important tying goal. He had a lot of good looks. He was a +2 on the day as well. So I'm going to give it to the Viking, man. Matthias Ekholm was an absolute warrior back there. He's had some rough games the last couple ones, but I thought today he was really, really good, leading the charge from the back end. So nothing against Connor because he wins too many of these, so sometimes you just got to go the other way, and I'm going to go with Matthias Ekholm. It would have been Askarov, but when you give up 3 goals, I don't care how many saves you made, buddy. It's Matthias Ekholm, Damon Bunting Player of the Game.
Very harsh, Hernan. When you let in 3, I was like, oh, I had myself muted there. But well done, Matthias Ekholm. He is your Damon Bunting Remax League Player of the Game. All right, let's get to this text. Rowdy Roddy texting in says, Merry Christmas, boys. Tommy, Cass, Hernan. Wow, what a game. McDavid and Draisaitl, who, in my opinion, is Hart, Rocket, Selke, and Lindsay, as well as Art Ross Trophy winners. Great show. Keep up the awesome shows. Love watching you guys. Hernan, wow, what a backflop on our 49ers. Rowdy Roddy, do you want to say anything about your 49ers?
There's nothing to say, Tommy. It's an off year. They got to regroup, move some dead weight on that team. I won't get into specifics, but let's just move on. Roddy, good to hear from you, pal. And the Niners are done. It's all Cardinals now, Tommy.
Thank you. Bird Gang, let's go. I was going to say I have no remorse for the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC West. They can sit on attack for all I care, collectively. Let's get to this one out of Calgary. No name on it. First-time texter, welcome to the program, says, I would argue that Podkolzin is a lot better than Skinner defensively. The biggest issue Skinner has is that he's not a fit with Draisaitl because realistically, that's the only spot for him. I would like to see Skinner with McDavid at some point. Maybe go Nuge with Henrique and see if there's a fit. Leon is putting up the best even strike numbers of his career. So whether Podkolzin is finishing or not, something is working. That's a good text. And defensively, Podkolzin, yes, better than Skinner for sure. And we have seen Skinner briefly with McDavid. I think he lasted almost a game, and that was like a month ago. And then he was back to 3rd and 4th line minutes. So Not a lot there in terms of putting him with the best in Connor McDavid. All right, let's go to this one. Sammy says, I don't understand the quote-unquote concern about the minutes the Oilers' top 4D are playing. Look at any other top Western Conference team. There's really not a huge gap, and in many cases, the Oilers guys are playing less. Bouchard playing under 24 minutes a night. They will add when the right time comes for the right price. Not overly worried. That text coming in from Sammy. Hernan, do you see any that you want to read off as well?
Joaquin Gage on the Nasty Chat says Hernan hates goalies.
Well, because they're weirdos.
I don't hate goalies, but
your co-host.
He was on the broadcast today, wasn't he, Tom?
I think so. I heard he was in-house, and Belzy was in the alumni room. Al Hamilton. I heard Chris Dingman was kicking around. Ben Scrivens. You want to talk about big-time goalie performances in a single night? Reed was talking about Ron Tugnut in 91 making 70 saves. How about Benny Scrivens? What do you have, 59 that one game?
Yeah, that was
against San Jose. That was very impressive back in 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. So good correlations indeed. I see him.
We have Reed ready.
We do have the host of the Reed Wilkins Show, Reed Bartholomew Wilkins. Hello, Reed. How was your drive home?
Surprisingly, it took longer than usual. Usually when I'm done after getting post-game, there's not a lot of traffic. But I don't know if it was done quicker today or maybe just more traffic around the city led to more cars downtown or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of surprising. I mean, I've always been a little spoiled because usually I get to games well before they start and leave up. How's my volume? Is that a little better?
Oh, much better there.
Okay, and leave after everybody else. But whatever. I'm here. Yes, Ron Tugnut against the Boston Bruins. 70 saves on 73 shots in a 3-3 tie. I believe Ray Bourque had 19 shots on goal in that game. I want to check. I want to check the summary. Hockey Reference has it here. Hopefully it'll be. Oh, they don't have the individual shots on goal.
Apparently,
Bourque had 19 shots.
And Ray Bourque went and shook Tugnut's hand after the game.
Yes, I don't know if other Bruins did too. According to the Hockey Reference game sheet, every Bruin had a shot on goal except for John Carter, who I don't remember who that is. Jim Weimer had 7 shots.
Wow.
So, yeah, I guess games I remember, I heard you talking about the Scrivens game. Lucas Dostal in a pre-Christmas game.
Yes.
December 17th of 2022, so almost exactly 2 years ago. 46 saves. Ducks beat the Oilers 4-3.
Yep.
That was a Saturday matinee at Rogers Place. And I remember a game you and I would have been at in the old building. Nikolai Habibulin had some like 50 save game that I think the Oilers won 5-4 or 4-3, but I can't remember it exactly off the top of my head.
He did not have a lot of good nights as an Oiler, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it would have been probably an 11-12 or 12-13. Yeah, I want to say, but
I would have been there for that, but
yeah,
I don't remember it.
Anyway, it was. I mean, the Oilers dominated the game. What can you say? Like, to be honest with you, Tom, I didn't think they had a good first period again.
No, they didn't.
Quite frankly, and I asked Knobloch about that, and he kind of said, maybe the first 5 or 6 minutes. But I didn't think their first period as a whole was good, except for the McDavid line. They were all over the Sharks. The other lines didn't do much. Leon got frustrated and tackled Celebrini, like a classic frustrated Leon moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Knobloch thought Pickard was kind of screened on the second goal, but that wasn't a great goal. But I mean, after that, it was just all Edmonton. To be fair, the Sharks had a little bit of a push in the third. Celebrini did have the open chance, big save by Pickard. They started to crank it up by, I think, realizing, okay, we're 10 minutes away from stealing one. But Askarov was good. And I also, now I don't want to take away from him, but if I'm looking at the whole picture, I mean, the Oilers missed probably 4 chances where they at least would have made him make an extremely difficult save if they would have hit the net.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the other night against Boston, maybe the better team didn't win because I think Boston played pretty well. I think that was a fair game that it went to overtime, and then who was better in 3-on-3? This one, the better team, the better team without a doubt won. I mean, you just saw that the Sharks couldn't keep up with the Oilers once they really got it cranked up and got the. I mean, there were times in the offensive zone it looked like the Oilers were practicing a 5-on-2 drill the way they were passing the puck around.
True. Very true. The Oilers will look to cap off this homestand tomorrow with their 4th victory, and that would be a pretty nice homestand indeed. The lone blip being that Panthers loss earlier in the week. Couple of texts here, Reed. I'll bounce off of you. Conroe, Texas says, Tommy, boys, anybody who's played hockey at any level has been in games like this. They happen. I like the way the Oilers have won 2 games by playing to the final horn. Not pretty, but another win. And then Nature Boy says, at the end of the day, they don't ask you how you got the 2 points. So good on the Oil. And then Peter asking if Skinner, Jeff, got a shift in the 3rd period.
Yes.
We kind of talked about that a bit. You know, I think you and I have talked about it a little bit, but what do you do, Reed? Like, how do you look at this scenario?
He got on the power play in the 3rd.
Okay, he did. All right.
I do not think he played a 5-on-5 shift. I think he's scratched tomorrow, personally. I think Derek Ryan comes back in and Jeff Skinner comes out. Now, the question is, what can you do? I think that a lot of people won't like this answer. You have to keep playing him as often as possible and hope he finds a role or a combination or starts producing a little bit more. I mean, they can't move him, right? They can't send him down, correct?
I don't think that he has no movement.
That means he does not leave Edmonton except to play in road games, right? So, like a no move is like a guy with a no trade you could actually send down.
Yeah,
like a guy with a no move you can't do anything with. So I honestly think this is just the case of a very good team with a player that is having trouble finding a role, isn't doing what he's done for most of his career, and that is score 20 goals or more. He's not on pace to do that.
No.
And as you and I have talked about ad nauseum, and people who watch hockey know, you got to contribute to the game. Because most players don't score, quite frankly. Most nights, most players don't score. So what's your job? So what's Jeff Skinner's job if he doesn't score? Or at least create offense. He doesn't really have one. He's not a body checker. He's not a penalty killer. He's not going to get on this power play a lot. You know, he's not a face-off specialist, any of those things. So it's tough.
Yeah.
So now I heard what Hernan was saying earlier. Should Skinner get another look with Draisaitl and Podkolzin goes down on the lineup? I think you can justify that.
Mm-hmm.
But how does Leon feel about it? And how do the rest of the players feel about it, knowing if they're doing their jobs, why is a guy who's maybe not doing his as much getting promoted?
Fair enough.
So it's like it's not a great situation for Knobloch, because I think whatever he does is going to get criticized in this situation, because somebody's going to want this and somebody else will want B and somebody else will want C with this player. It would not surprise me if he's scratched tomorrow, and I have no inside knowledge there, but just reading the ice time today, I think you'd want to get Derek Ryan back into a game before Christmas. I would think. I mean, I would struggle to take Perry out, quite frankly.
He set up the time goal tonight.
Even if he hadn't done that. So let's look at the hierarchy here. So they need somebody to go out when Nuge isn't available. It's not Jeff Skinner. I think Arvidsson might have just been on the ice. So I don't think, or no, was it Nuge, Podkolzin, and Kapanen? That might have been the previous line.
Yeah, because Nugent Hopkins slid in with Podkolzin and Kapanen. I actually don't mind those three when they're out together. They had a couple of good shifts tonight.
Yeah, but Corey Perry right now would still be above Arvidsson and Skinner if you're in desperately need a goal mode.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's kind of strange. I know now both Skinner and Arvidsson, both signings are getting criticized a lot. I still think there's going to be something with Arvidsson. I mean, maybe he's this year's Connor Brown. Like he's, I still think there's something there. Mm-hmm. But this was, I guess, kind of the concern with Skinner, and it was talked about in the summer to some extent. And I know some fans brought it up, on my old show. Like, okay, but what if there's a reason he's never played in the playoffs? Like, what if it's his fault these other teams that he's been on have never made the playoffs? I think that's overstating it, but I think it's worth discussing to some extent.
Tom
not that he's going to, what I mean? He's not going to drag the Oilers out of the playoffs, but where's that spark, right?
Yeah, fair point. Tom Gazzola, Reed Wilkins, Hernan Salas with your GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Reed, we got this text from Donnie M. Donnie is not a fan of Nugent Hopkins. I'll just say that. If you go through Donnie's text history with our station, likes to bring up Nugent Hopkins, and not for good reason. Says, hey, Tommy, why is there radio silence on Ryan Nugent Hopkins? He missed 3 glorious wide open shots. Why do the 3 others you named not get the opportunity to finish with McDavid? Isn't enough, Donnie M. Well, Donnie M, this is a guy who scored 100 points a couple seasons ago and continues to produce, maybe not at the clip we're used to, but he brings a lot of value to the table. That's all. I've maintained that this year, but Nugent Hopkins is still a valuable player. He set up the winner the other night against Boston. What would you say to Donnie M, Reed?
Well, I would say I don't think there's radio silence on him. I think he has been talked about. Jay and I were talking about him yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'll repeat what I said. I think it's a somewhat of an underwhelming season for Ryan Nugent Hopkins, quite frankly.
Yep.
I mean, I've just double checked his stats. He's barely over half a point a game. Like, I think his pace would be just below 50, which isn't great for a player of his caliber or where he plays in the lineup. But I also think this is kind of who Ryan Nugent Hopkins has become as a player. He's 31 now. He did have that great season. Absolutely. 104 points. He's had other very productive seasons. He's, a compliment to the big guys on this team. I think he contributes to the line of McDavid and Hyman.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's better there than other players would be. I definitely think he needs to score more. Now, on the power play, he doesn't shoot a lot anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish he would. Like, just try to snipe one like classic Nugent Hopkins style. But now Bouchard, Draisaitl, and Hyman have all surpassed him in the power play scoring hierarchy. And I didn't even mention McDavid. Like, it's so I get it, but he's kind of become a safe 5-on-5 player who is a special team specialist.
Good point.
So some people might think I'm running down Nuge. Donnie might say I'm being too kind to him. But I think that's kind of who he is. And there is room for players like that in the NHL and on this team. But yeah, I'd like to see him have 6 more points, 3 or 4 more goals. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Reed, Rick, finally, thoughts on tomorrow's game to close out this homestand and head into the Christmas break. A real opportunity, but it is an Ottawa team playing very well, and that does have to play in Vancouver tonight. Travel here, lose an hour, and then play earlier against the Oilers.
Yeah, and so Ottawa plays at 8 tonight, right?
Yes.
Which I believe that, because is the rule not that there has to be at least 22 hours between opening faceoffs from back-to-back games? So that's why it's at 6 tomorrow. And not maybe another matinee or a 4:00 game. I guess that's more the Wilkins that do the 4:00. But I think it'll be a fun game. I think it's going to be a tough game for the Oilers. They got to keep their focus that final game before Christmas, because now you can really see it. And I did notice today, underneath leaving the post game, there's a lot more family and friends milling around.
Yeah,
so you got to keep that focus, and I think they will. But yeah, Ottawa's good. We know that, that it's another Tkachuk who enjoys. It's not quite the same as Matthew, because he was a Flame and then they played in the Stanley Cup final, but he loves being a villain. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think I said when I was predicting the homestand, I said the Oilers will go 3-1-1 and the overtime loss will be against Ottawa. So hopefully I'm wrong and the Oilers win. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think back-to-backs, you know what's like, Tom. Usually they're in such good shape now. Although I guess Ottawa just played Thursday.
Yeah,
like for them, it's more the 3 and 4 than the back-to-back. But often the team on the back-to-back is good early in the game. And the Oilers have not been good early in the last 2 games. I do want to point that out. Maybe it's nitpicking a little bit because they won, but I haven't liked their first period in either game. I think it's going to be a spirited game tomorrow. I think it'll be very tight. I think the Sens are going to be a tough out.
Hey, Reed, really quickly, did you, as part of NextGen game day, teach the kids how to swear in the locker room like Leon did?
No, I did not. I was trying to get them to memorize some Def Leppard lyrics, but that they kind of were like, "What are you talking about?" And then, it was funny. Leon answering that with the S-bomb when asked what went through his head when he missed those chances. He apologized to the kids after, but they were great. Especially there was the one younger. I think his name might have been Arvin. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Arden. I can't remember, but he was kind of with Gene and with Paige, and he was right in there.
Yeah,
he was right in there asking questions. Very bold. Good for him.
Well done. All right, I'll leave it with this with you from Penner's Pancakes. Reed looking pimp tight. I agree. You look pimp tight, and this segment was pimp tight, and I hope you have a pimp tight night, Reed.
Well, I hope that's a compliment. Thank you.
I think it is. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you. Reed Wilkins, host of the Reed Wilkins Show here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch him with Jay Milne Monday to Friday, 3 to 6. Oh, great stuff. All right, Nad. So final thoughts from you, and then let's say good night. It's been a fun one.
Saturday night, another 2 points. They'll go for another 2. It's going to be a tougher test. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Ottawa tonight, see how they look, and see what kind of against a very there's a lot of noise surrounding the Vancouver Canucks, Tommy. A lot of noise.
You should have heard David Pagnotta today on Hello Hockey. And then today in the press box, too. It's not good over there.
No, so I'm intrigued by this game. And then, looking forward to it. We'll be back at 5 o'clock tomorrow for all our nasties. Everybody out there, if you're out shopping and driving around, be nice, be courteous, drive slow. Let's all get home safe so we can we can all be here tomorrow for the pregame show.
I would like that very, very much. Donnie M follows up with, thank you very much, Reed, Tom, and Hernan. No more news texts. Happy holidays. Love all of you guys. Donnie M. Thank you, Donnie. We appreciate you very, very much. That will do it because my friend Sean Bartholomew Bell is on his way, and we're going to go and enjoy the splendor of downtown Edmonton. I guess you got the green light from Lindsay. For Hernan Salas, Reed Wilkins, and Matt Cassian, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thank you as always for watching and listening and texting. We appreciate you very, very much. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we will see you right here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Ciao, ciao.